Police interview should you do one. If the police suspect you committed a criminal offence, they'll offer you the chance to take part in an interview with them. This means they'll tell you about the alleged offence and ask you to comment about it. They'll also ask you questions. You may think to yourself, what harm could it do in participating in the interview with police? I'll just go in and tell them my side of the story, the truth. When charged with a criminal offence, it's not about the truth or what happened. It's what the prosecution can prove. Before you reveal to anyone what you know, wouldn't you want to know what the prosecution can prove against you? Is there any benefit for you in participating in the interview with police? The law says when a court sentences a person, the court must consider any help they gave to police in investigating the criminal offence. This means if you do an interview with police regarding a criminal offence and you tell them things about it, the court must take this into account. So you get some credit. There has to be some incentive for people to do interviews with police. Can I refuse an interview with police? Yes. In Queensland, no matter what anyone says to you, you do not have to take part in an interview with police. You can and should exercise your right to silence. If police ask you questions in relation to an indictable offence, the law says you do not have to say anything. Do not fall into the trap of agreeing to listen to what the police have to tell you about the offence. Police will record offering you the opportunity to take part in an interview. And even if you say no, sometimes they'll ask you if you want to hear about what they have to say. This is a trap. We have had clients go through this and forget their right to silence and start speaking to police about the offence. If you don't take part in an interview with police, can this be used against you at your trial? In Queensland, if you refuse to participate in an interview with police, this can't be used against you at your trial. The prosecution cannot say at your trial that police offered you the chance to take part in an interview. This isn't allowed under Queensland law. I'm going to outline 7 risks of taking part in an interview with police. Now, there are many risks in taking part in an interview with police regarding a criminal offence. I'm just going to highlight 7 of the key things you should know before you agree to take part in an interview with police. Number 1, any admissions you make against your own interest can be used against you by the prosecution. You can be convicted of a criminal offence based on your own admissions and nothing else. By taking part in an interview with police only makes their job easier. 2, before you take part in the interview, you'll have no idea what they will ask you. 3, you'll have no idea how you'll respond to the questions police ask you. When you respond to the questions, you'll be on the spot. You'll have no time to prepare your answers. When you're being interviewed, you'll have little time to think about your response. Because you're on the spot to give an answer, you will not know how you'll respond. We are humans, and unless you've had a lot of contact with police in your lifetime, you'll likely be nervous and anxious, which is quite natural. During the interview, you'll likely just think to yourself, I just want to get out of here. As a consequence, you may respond quickly to questions asked of you, rather than taking your time to think about your answer. This can lead to mistakes. In my experience, persons who take part in interviews with police often later regret doing so. They walk away wishing they never took part in the interview. Once you say something to police during an interview, it's impossible to take it back because you already said it. If you say something that harms you, you can bet your bottom dollar the prosecution will use this against you. For example, they'll play your interview to the jury. 4, things you say during the interview could be misinterpreted later by others. For example, the jury. During the interview, what you say could be misconstrued by the prosecution and jury to your detriment. Just think about your own life experience when you communicate with other persons. A person may say something to you they believe means something, but when you listen to it, you may interpret it to mean something else. You'll be hard-pressed to convince a jury what you told police in your interview meant something different to what they understand it to be. 5. At the time you take part in the interview, you have no idea if the police has any evidence against you. Police interviews can happen early on in the piece, before the police has fully conducted their investigation into you. Even if the police tell you they have evidence proving you committed the offence, you won't have seen it. For example, they may tell you there's CCTV clearly showing you committing the offence. But if you watch the footage, you may not be able to clearly see anyone. You may think this doesn't happen, but it does. Trust me. 6. You may tell police things they do not know that may help them prosecute you. Remember, the prosecution must prove their case against an accused. An accused does not need to prove anything. 7. You may tell police things leading to you being charged with other criminal offences. A common situation I see this happen is with drug offences. Police search a person, they locate drugs on them. So they've got them for simple possession. The person may decide to take part in an interview with police. They may tell police about buying drugs and then selling them to friends just to help them out. What starts off as a simple possession can soon ramp up and turn into a drug trafficking charge or several supplies or a supply charge. Now, if the person originally had just refused to do the interview, the police would have been left with a simple possession charge. So think twice before agreeing to partake in an interview with police, because there are many risks of doing so.